Hey everyone, it's the Ultimate Handyman. Today I want to show you how to change an AC compressor on a 1997 Dodge Ram 3500 Cummins.
Before we start the video, can you do me a huge favor and subscribe to my channel? It doesn't cost you anything, but it helps me out a lot.
So before you do anything with your old AC compressor, you're going to want to remove all the refrigerant from your AC system. Now, I'm actually fortunate enough to have a neighbor who runs his own mobile AC service business, and he came over a few days ago and removed all the refrigerant for me. And once we install the new compressor, I'll have him come back over and recharge it. Now, doing that, I'm saving some money. I'm not buying new refrigerant to recharge the system. And we're also not breaking the law because it's against the law to vent the refrigerant into the atmosphere. So you don't want to do that. So what I recommend you guys do is find someone in your local area who does the same type of business, mobile AC service, or take it to a shop that has an AC recharging machine and have them do it for you. So here's the new AC compressor that I purchased from Amazon. It was actually very reasonably priced at $165. I'm pretty happy about the price on it. I don't know how long it's going to last, but if it does break, I will let you know. This thing comes with an adapter for different types of wiring systems. And that's pretty much it. This and that are in the box. And I'll show you the label. It's from Gamma, and it uses the R134A refrigerant. All right, to make it easier to access the AC compressor, I put the truck up on some drive-on ramps. That'll give me a little bit more playroom to work with when I'm laying on my back. So the first thing we're gonna do is remove this serpentine belt. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a 1/2 inch ratchet, and we're gonna stick it up in this belt tensioner. There's a slot in there, and we're gonna push it towards the driver's side of the truck, and that way we can remove the belt. I'm going to push the belt out of the way, and then when I let this go, that is actually going to stay right there. We'll just leave it like that. It's not going to fall out because it's wedged in there pretty good, and we'll leave the belt like that. Now if you're replacing the belt, pull your belt off and install a new one. Just make sure you pay attention to how the belt is run through all the pulleys. All right, so the next thing we're gonna do is remove this bolt that holds the coolant lines on to the AC compressor. So that bolt is a 10mm bolt. Okay. Got a little bit of a residual pressure in it. Some old dye coming out of there. Okay, we'll just put those to the side. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna do is take out the 4 bolts that hold the AC compressor in. So there's 2 on the bottom, and the bottom ones are harder to remove. So this first one here, you can fit a 13mm wrench on and take that one out. Now this other one that's back here is kind of a pain in the ass, but what they did is they put a hole in the truck frame right where that bolt is, so you can stick an extension through that hole with your 13mm socket on the end of it, so you can break that loose. And then the upper 2 you can actually reach. I can't really film that, but you get the point. So I'm going to remove those bolts, and then I'll disconnect the electrical connector, and we'll pull out this AC compressor. All right, so I finally pulled out the old AC compressor, and this bolt right here was giving me the most trouble. So earlier I showed you me sticking this extension with the 13 millimeter through the frame rail holes, and I thought those holes lined up perfectly centered on these bolts, these two bottom bolts, but they actually don't. They're a little bit off-centered, and when I started pulling it out, this started kind of going sideways, and it was getting hung up on the lip of the hole in the frame rail. So I ended up having to use just a regular 13 millimeter wrench to remove this bolt. And other than that, it came out pretty smooth. So the new AC compressor matches the old one identically. It's perfect match. It even has the same wire connector to connect to your truck's existing wiring harness. So I wanted to show you how the connector actually comes apart when you're pulling the old AC compressor out. I wasn't able to film that because it was just too difficult, but this is what the connector looks like in the engine compartment. It has this little button right here. I'm going to zoom in on that for you so you can see it. So it's got this little button that you push, and that lifts up this little arm that locks down the other connector. Sometimes these are a pain in the butt to remove. So you just push on this and it should pop right out, just like that. All right, so before we put the AC compressor back in the truck, we're gonna need to add some oil to it. Now, the compressor has oil from the factory inside it, and that needs to be drained out because that oil is just to keep its parts lubricated while it's sitting on the shelf at the store. Now, once we get that oil out of here, we're going to add this PAG 100 refrigerant oil to the compressor. So this Dodge Ram has a capacity of 7.75 ounces of oil. Now, we're not going to put 7.75 ounces of oil back into the compressor because there's actually a bunch of oil still trapped in the AC system. So in order to determine how much oil goes in the new compressor, you're going to take the old compressor and drain the oil out of it. Then you're going to measure that oil, and then you're going to add that amount back into the new compressor with the new oil. And I'm going to flash a screenshot of the service manual so you guys can read it over and understand this a little bit better. All right, so now I'm going to add the oil to the AC compressor very carefully. Now, if the compressor starts to fill up with oil, what you're going to want to do is spin the clutch shaft to help it go down. I just put a ratchet on the end of mine. That's helping it go into the system. All right, so I'm going to add the rest of my oil and then put this in the truck. All right, so I'm going to put the AC compressor back in the truck. As a reminder, make sure you put both of these bottom bolts in before you try to stick it up into the truck because they will not fit because of the frame rail is about an inch away. I also put this cover on from the factory. That'll help keep some of the oil in case I tip it too far when I'm trying to lift it up into place. And then once it's bolted in, I'll remove this and connect the coolant lines. All right, so I just finished installing the AC compressor. I still got to hook up the wire connector, and I also have to hook up the coolant lines. Before I hook up the coolant lines, I'm going to replace the old seals that it had. They're definitely no good anymore. They're failing, and I've got some new ones. Let me show you guys the seals. There's the old seals. I was having some problems with these things leaking, and we actually tried to recharge it, and we had these O-rings like this to help to seal these, but I ended up getting some new seals that match the original. All right, I'm gonna put my new seals in. There's one. Let's get number 2. Make sure it's clean. Looks pretty good. Oh man, this is a hard on your body, this job here. Laying on the ground all day. All right. All right, so now I'm gonna take this cover off and then hook up the coolant lines. Hopefully I don't spill a bunch of oil out. Okay. Might spill a little bit. Let's try to get it on quick. Okay. Now, we'll put my 10mm bolt back in. Like that. I spilled a tiny bit, not too bad. Come on. Make sure my washers didn't fall out. Looks like they're good. All my washers or seals are still in there. Man, it's a tight fit on your hands. It's hard to get in here, man. Okay. I think that's tight enough, I hope. I'll get the torque specs for you guys so you know how much to torque it down. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to put back the Serpentine belt. I was going to install a new one, but the new one I bought has a big nick in it, so I got to return that. So I'm just going to put the old one back on for now. That will be good enough for today. Now let's connect the electrical connector, and this project is done, and now I can get my neighbor to refill the AC system.
Hey, check out my neighbor's business. It's the Cool Auto AC Service. He's located in the Solano County area out in California. And if you need some AC work done, definitely give him a call.
Now that it's recharged, we're going to turn the engine on and see if it works. Feels like it's getting pretty cold. All right, what a project, man. I'm sore from laying on my back so much. So hope you guys found some value in this video. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. And if you could do me a huge favor, I'd appreciate it if you could like, share, and subscribe. And I want to thank you for watching, and I will see you the next project.
Also, check out my other videos here. You might find them helpful.